Hey y'all, what's up? It has been a whirlwind couple of weeks with Erin Condren's Life Planner launch, with all of the videos that I did surrounding that. I needed a little bit of a break, so I took it, but now I am back and I'm so excited because our community has grown. There are a lot of new faces around here. A lot has changed in my personal life recently with the addition of a new puppy. We're in the process of moving. So I wanted to keep today's video low-key, but super fun, and do a Q&A. If you are new here, welcome. My name is Lauren and I am your go-to gal and best friends for all things planning, productivity, and how to use the resources that you have to plan today for a better tomorrow. I asked my community over on Instagram to crowdsource your burning questions. If I didn't get to yours, it's probably because it's gonna be in my next Q&A video. Now, before we jump into today's video, if you have any burning questions, let me know in the comments down below. I'll be looking there when I go to film my next Q&A. So today's video, I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna answer 5 of the questions that you guys sent me. I thought that they were amazing. It's more than 5 questions. I kind of took a couple different questions and combined them together. And I'm just super excited because I'm just gonna share. I'm gonna be here, give you that planner pep talk that you need. And like I said, just be your planner best friend. Okay, the first question. How do you keep a planning routine while traveling? This one is one that's always kind of front of mind for me personally. Before 2020, personally and professionally, John Michael, my partner, and I do a lot of traveling for our job, also recreationally. And keeping a planning routine was something that I used to struggle with so much during that. And now as the world is starting to reopen a little bit again, it's having gone through that process of struggling a little bit with it and finding something that works for me, I'm so happy to share it with y'all. I think it's really important to take a second and remember the fact that we have to accept that last year in 2020, our plans didn't just change, they halted. And out of circumstance, it created completely new planning routines for us. We probably didn't travel as much. I mean, I didn't travel at all. And pretty soon, if it hasn't already, your planning routine is probably gonna change again as our lives begin to shift and we begin to establish whatever a new normal looks like. Families are reuniting. People are taking vacations again. Travel inevitably puts pressure on your routines. Planning, for some, is a routine. And so I think travel just puts stress on that. And I think we have to, first and foremost, just realize that. Just realize that it might not look exactly the same when we are traveling as it might be when we are home. That honesty sometimes is a hard realization to come to. So when you open your suitcase to start packing, here are the things that I think about, and here are some questions that you can ask yourself. Now, when you're sitting down to pack, ideally a few days before, but if you're anything like me, then it's the night before and you've pushed it off too long and it's been on your to-do list and you keep moving it over, and here we are. Think about what's the purpose of the trip and how does planning fit into that? Let me break that down a little bit for you. If I'm taking a work trip and I have the privilege of being able to work virtually from anywhere, and I often find myself working from the road, then I don't really curb my planning routine. And unless I'm pressed for space in my suitcase, then I'll take my entire planning stack and the accessories that I think are necessary. Now, if you're traveling on vacation or with your family, or maybe you're not working at all while you're traveling, chances are it's gonna be significantly more complicated to keep that same routine. So a couple of things to remember. Number one, it is okay if you have blank spaces in your planner. I know that sometimes as planner people, that's a hard reality to hear, let alone to then go ahead and accept. But it's okay if your planner has blank pages. I will tell you that I have never owned a planner in my life where I have used every single page of that planner. And personally, being unafraid of a blank page here or there, or honestly, a blank week or a blank month, helps me a lot and makes planning significantly more realistic. The second thing that I would tell you to consider is to go ahead and think about paring down only your essentials. And I know that's gonna be hard because as planner people, everything's essential, right? Now you might laugh at me, but I can't even get through this sentence. But I create a plan for my planners and my accessories when I go ahead and travel. And the reason is because I want to understand how I'm going to be using my planners. We'll take, for instance, if I'm going on vacation with my family, we'll just say to Disney World because that's where I really would like to be going this year. I'm not going to be taking a planner around with me all throughout the day. The function of my planner on that trip is going to be significantly more for journaling or memory keeping or writing in my planner what we did so I can remember what we did instead of using the planner as something that I'm forward planning. So what I'd probably do in that instance is, instead of bringing a planner, bringing more of a journal, so I can go ahead and use that to jot down my thoughts and my experience, add pictures or little mementos from along the way. In regards to accessories, I would think through what I would be doing on that trip. One of the accessories that I've been loving a lot this year is the Erin Condren sticker book. And it's the sticker book that like you can add your own stickers to. And the reason that I like that is I can go ahead and just add the stickers that I think that I'll use. And the reason that I do this, and some may not even want to use a planner at all on vacation, but the reason that I do this is, like we said at the beginning, planning is a habit. So to be able to keep that planning habit or routine, you have to constantly engage in it. So yes, again, like I said, maybe I'm not forward planning and writing out what we're gonna do on a day-to-day basis. However, I can still sit down with my planner for 5 minutes every single day and write out what happened. So I'm still going through the act of sitting down with my planner, even though that reality of what it looks like when I'm at home versus when I'm on vacation, the things that I'm writing in my planner look different, but the act of planning, what I'm physically doing every single day, is the same. I actually have an updated planner lineup coming for you guys, talking a little bit more about my planner stack and how that's changed as the world has begun to change, and it will go a little bit more into detail on this. Question number 2 are, what are ways to not get overwhelmed in your planner and to keep consistency and break the cycle of using your planner and then not using your planner? Okay, I know that probably sounds a little confusing. Let me tell you how I interpret this question, which is going to dictate how I answer this question. I interpret this question as a cycle that I see all the time, and a cycle that I personally have gone through before, in which you buy a planner because you're so excited, and then you're consistent for like 3 to 5 months because you're so excited and you feel like you're really committed. And then something happens, so you get off of that consistency. From there, you then kind of, it's a lull and you're not really using it, so you feel discouraged. So either you get another boost of energy and you start using your planner again, only to fall off 3 to 5 months down the line, or you just completely scrap that planner and start brand new. Does that sound like anybody else? Because I know that I definitely have been there. I feel like a lot of these questions, I'm gonna say like, we just gotta think about it, but let's break it down. So if your planner's overwhelming, let's start with thinking about the physical planner itself. If you have been using a daily planner and the daily planning aspect is overwhelming, have you tried a weekly? And vice versa. For me, weekly planners give less space on the day to day. However, it does give me an overview of the week. I can use a planning pad to supplement on the days that are extra busy or the days that I need a little bit of extra guidance, and I can stick it right in my weekly planner, but I don't necessarily have to use both a daily and a weekly planner. Or maybe just using a planner is overwhelming, so you opt to only use a planning pad on the days that you need it. If the part that's overwhelming is that you regret when you miss a day in your planner or you miss a week in your planner, reflect on that for a second. It's healthy to have white space in your planner. I always like to say that usually that white space, that unplanned time, is when I was living life and loving it. And I encourage you to seek that out because I truly believe that less is more when it comes to planning. Some other suggestion: simplify your planning. I have a whole video how to create manageable to-do lists, so you can go ahead and check that out if it's something you're interested in. But really it comes down to figuring out what is necessary and realistic for your day to day. Y'all, it is time to normalize messy planners. It's time to normalize coffee stains and wine stains in your planner. Crossed out dates, scratched out text, and weeks that either you didn't use or you didn't decorate. Over the past year, I've spoken with a lot of different individuals who say, I don't have enough to plan. I don't even want to pick up the planner. And in that, I say, use your planner to track. Sometimes we don't need to necessarily always plan for what's going to be coming ahead. Sometimes we just need to take stock of where we are. On some days, I write out when I had breakfast, lunch, and dinner, when I took the dog out for a walk, and even the time that I went ahead and took a shower. Again, this all goes back to the habit of planning. And just tracking what you're doing is not without its own purpose. When you track what you're doing, you are seeing where you're spending your time on a day-to-day basis. And so that eventually, when you do have more plans and you are doing more forward planning, you already know what your typical day-to-day looks like. All right, so the next question that we have is, how do you plan small? This question specifically states that sometimes this person feels so overwhelmed that they don't even want to sit down and plan because they just don't feel like they can do layouts like other people are doing. This is something I actually feel passionate about and something I haven't always necessarily shared. So let's get into it. Story time. I've always been a planner, but before I've joined the planner community that I know now, I only used one planner. I know, shocking. And it was a passion planner. It was right when the company first released. And as I mentioned earlier in the video, we're in the process of moving right now, and I actually found that planner. One was a major blast from the past. But as I was flipping through the planner, y'all, I was cracking up because the spine of the planner is legitimately falling out. I had taken duct tape and I was duct taping the planner to the spine of the planner. And that is not to say anything about Passion Planner at all. It's because I used that planner to its fullest capabilities. It has whiteout, it has ripped out pages, it has sticky notes everywhere, it is crossed out and colored in, and it just made me laugh because the planner that I am today would not even recognize who that person was so many years ago. And as funny as that was, it got me thinking about my own journey when it comes to planning. When I first started really using a planner, I had no idea why someone would put stickers in their planner or why they would use multiple planners. That thought and that idea never crossed my mind. When I joined the planner community, one of my favorite communities, I must say, I was so overwhelmed because there was and is just so much going on. I felt that to be a part of the planner community, my planner had to look a certain way, and I had to use certain brands, and I had to even place my stickers in a very particular and certain aesthetic. To me, that looked like buying planners from every single release that happened, using a ton of stickers, using washi on every single page of my planner, keeping every single spread super decorative. And while I do love stickers and I'm so happy that I have been introduced to them, it just wasn't something that I could keep up with. And honestly, I just realized that I didn't have time because I was spending more time decorating my planner than actually completing my plans. I realized that by finding my old planner, I don't need all of those things. I was fine for years prior to having them, and yes, I am not saying that I'm necessarily gonna go back to that style of planning, but my plans still got done, and I was able to achieve my goals and live a life that I wanted to live. We all use planners for a different reason. For some of us, it's a creative outlet. For other of us, it's a hobby. Some of us want to retake control of our lives, and maybe it's a little bit of all three. And so the biggest piece of advice that I have, which is so much easier said than done, I understand, is to not get sucked into it all. If looking at other layouts is stressing you out, don't. If watching videos and feeling like you are inadequate is making you not want to use your planner, don't watch them. How do I plan small? Well, when I sit down to plan my week, I actually don't plan out my whole entire week. When I sit down, I only put in my planner the big, immovable things. If you've watched my previous videos, I call these my non-negotiable tasks. Those are the only things that I put in my planner on a weekly basis. I then go in every single night during my 5-minute planner routine where I add my appointments of the day and my 3 top priorities. And so what do I say to this question? Plan in small, digestible pieces. Plan when it makes sense to you. If you haven't tried a weekly layout, for me, it's probably my favorite because I think it makes looking at everything really great. And then, like I said, supplementing it with a daily pad or a daily planner, whatever your preference comes down to help you really break down those busy days. All right, so the next question, how do you encourage planner use with kids? Man, what a question. So to answer this question, I want to first start off by saying I'm not a parent and I do not know what it is like to have kids at all. I will say that I do have a older male child, John Michael, my partner. So to an extent, I can speak about how I got John Michael to start planning. I also want to say that, again, I recognize that each individual child is going to be completely different and what works for them. And I can, again, only speak from my experience of helping bring John Michael into planning and growing up in a household in which planning was at the forefront of all of that. So I grew up in a military family, and I think that sometimes a military family comes off as having it's very strict and very disciplined and all of these things. That was not my experience at all. My parents told me that when they were working, they very much had to be put together, and there was so much structure that surrounded that they didn't want our home to be that same space. Now, where there were definitely structures in place, but I think so many things were kind of happening subconsciously because they were just planning strategies that they used in their work, that it just made sense that it came home. But I never as a child felt that like I had a color-coded schedule that I had to stick to, and there were never timelines up of like, you have to do this and then you're going to do that. None of that was ever around. So none of that was ever my reality. I believe that my parents did a really great job in modeling, wanting to have a plan and using planners for me. I know that my mom always had a physical planner that she used, and I fell in love with the idea of using a paper planner because of my mom. I would watch my mom come home after a busy day, and while we were all sitting around and watching TV and watching movies, she would pull out her planner and sit there and work through her schedule for the next day. And I always said, Mom, please, I want one. Will you get me one? I want to sit down and I want to do this with you. And she bought me planners on planners on planners that I sat down with for one night and then I never used again. It took me years to go ahead and branch out and start planning on my own. Planning is not something that I ever really did, you know, when I was living with my parents. And it was not something that I ever got into until I had already left the house. And then it took me 5 years after that to go ahead and find the planner community. When I went to undergrad, everyone around me thought that it was so funny how structured my life was, or how many routines or habits that I had in place. And I'm not gonna lie, I was a little embarrassed at first. And for me, these were just all normal. These were things that were just commonplace in my household. I had no idea that they were these defined structures or these defined routines. But it ended up for me working out really well in undergrad. So anyway, sorry, got off on a tangent. But when I think back to my childhood, I think the best way to encourage planning is to model it, to make it something that for me was kind of unconscious that I even know was there. I unknowingly did the same thing with John Michael a couple of years ago. I was just consistent with my planning and encouraged him to participate in the same ways that my parents did with me. I just shared with John Michael how much planning and to that extent goal setting helped me manage my life and feel good. And so we began incorporating little bite-sized bits of planning into our relationship. Now, fast forward, here we are 5.5 years later, and John Michael has his own planner stack of his own. Now, specifically for kids, there are a lot of brands who have more children and teen focused type planners. Off the top of my head, I know that Erin Condren, Bloom Daily Planners, as well as Cultivate What Matters, all have specific products for a younger age demographic. Growing up, routines and structures were never called routines and structure, and for me, they were really important to my development. And last question for today, what should you do if you are a planner beginner? And then I did have a couple questions that were even more specific and were like, if you are a beginner for Erin Condren. So I'm gonna talk kind of broad level of what to do if you're a planner beginner. I'll give a couple tips in here as well about if specifically to Erin Condren, where to start, what to do. First off, if you are new, welcome to the planner community. It is absolutely amazing and one of my favorite things that I have ever been a part of. I'm so happy that you are here. I can totally understand why it is so overwhelming when you're first getting started here with a planner. Not only are there so many different planners, there's so many different accessories, there's just a lot. So before you even look at videos, I'm gonna suggest some of mine. So even before you look at any of my videos, I want you to take a moment to reflect. You can always Google or Instagram or YouTube any aspect of your planner. Want to know how to use the daily pages, notes pages, dashboard page, all of those. There are a million videos that are out there that can probably be super helpful for you. My favorite thing about the planner community is the fact that we all have the same products. However, we use them in so many unique different ways. Everyone has their own ideas, from how to do it functionally to how to do it decoratively and everything in between. But I want you to sit down and think about, what is the function of your planner? What are you hoping to go ahead and get out of your planner? And I think that will really dictate kind of the way in which you want to go. Do you want to use your planner for goal setting, or maybe budgeting, or just maybe simple and realistic plans? All of those things can be achieved in your planner. But you, and only you, are gonna know exactly what you need to get from your planner. I have so many videos here on my YouTube of starting a new planner, setting up a new planner. Specific to Erin Condren, I have a whole setup series on how to use your notes pages, your dashboard pages, and educational series on how to use specifically the different Erin Condren planners. On my website, I have a Finding Planner Piece bundle that has a series of different questions, among other things, that help you really understand, like I said, what is your purpose when purchasing your planner. But it culminates in the advice that I give to everyone, and is to create an intention for your planner. Planning, first and foremost, is an act of intentionality. And I think that intentionality starts even before you buy it. So those are my thoughts. I know we talked through a lot, y'all. I love this last question though. If you were restarting in the planner community, for all of my planning experts out there, what is one piece of advice that you would go ahead and give a planner newbie? All right, y'all, now that is all that I have for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to go ahead and give it a thumbs up, and I hope you'll stick around by hitting that red subscribe button. I upload new videos every Monday and Thursday, and as always, y'all, my name is Lauren here with Plan with Laur, and I'll see y'all next time.